There are moments in life when the battle is not around you, it is inside you. Your smile looks normal, your routine looks normal, but deep inside your mind there is noise, pressure, fear, confusion, and exhaustion. You try to stay strong for everybody else while silently falling apart within yourself. Some people are fighting storms outside, but others are fighting storms in their thoughts every single day. But today, hear this clearly. God did not create you to live imprisoned by anxiety, fear, and emotional chaos. He created you for peace. He created you for stability. He created you with a mind that can rest in Him even when life feels uncertain. Sometimes chaos comes suddenly. One phone call changes everything. One betrayal shakes your trust. One disappointment steals your sleep. One season of hardship drains your strength. And before you realize it, your mind becomes a battlefield. Negative thoughts begin to grow louder than your faith. Fear begins to speak louder than hope. Worry begins to dominate your mornings and your nights. But God is still the Prince of Peace in the middle of every storm. You may feel overwhelmed, but you are not abandoned. You may feel tired, but you are not defeated. You may feel mentally exhausted, but God is still able to restore what stress has stolen from you. The enemy wants your mind because he knows that if he can control your thoughts, he can weaken your faith. That is why you must guard your heart and mind carefully. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every fear deserves your agreement. Not every negative thought deserves to stay in your spirit. Sometimes you must stand up spiritually and declare, God, I will not allow fear to rule me anymore. I will not allow anxiety to consume my future. I will not allow chaos to steal my peace. God can calm a troubled mind. He can silence internal storms. He can heal emotional wounds nobody else understands. He can restore your joy after years of heaviness. He can give rest to a weary soul. You do not have to carry every burden by yourself. Many people are physically tired because they are mentally overloaded. They are carrying pain from yesterday, fear about tomorrow, and pressure from today all at once. But God never asked you to carry life alone. He asked you to trust Him. Peace does not mean your problems disappear overnight. Peace means God gives you calmness while the battle is still happening. Peace means your heart stays steady even when life becomes unpredictable. Peace means you stop panicking because you know God is still in control. Some of you have been praying for answers, but today God wants to restore your mind first. Because when your mind is healthy, your faith becomes stronger. When your mind is at peace, your vision becomes clearer. When your spirit is calm, you can hear God more clearly. Stop replaying every painful moment in your head. Stop feeding fear with constant worry. Stop assuming the worst before God has finished writing. Ting your story. Your current situation is not your final destination. God specializes in restoration. He restores broken hearts. He restores weary souls. He restores lost hope. And yes, He restores troubled minds. There are blessings that cannot enter your life until peace enters first. Chaos confuses you, but peace strengthens you. Fear weakens you, but faith renews you. Worry drains you, but trusting God refreshes you. So today, pray boldly. God, restore my thoughts, restore my peace, restore my emotional strength, restore my confidence, restore the joy I lost in difficult seasons, and believe that He hears you. The storm may still exist around you, but God can create peace within you that the storm cannot touch. People may not understand your struggle, but God understands every silent battle happening in your mind. You are not losing your mind. You are going through a process. And God is bringing healing, clarity, strength, and peace back into your life. This season of sea. Confusion will not last forever. This heaviness will not define your future. This battle in your mind is not greater than the power of God. Hold on. Keep praying. Keep trusting. Keep believing, because the same God who calms oceans can calm your mind, and the same God who brings peace to storms can bring peace to your soul. Your restoration is coming, your peace is returning, and your mind will breathe again. Some battles cannot be seen with human eyes. People can look at you and assume everything is fine because you still show up, still smile, still go to work, still talk normally, and still carry responsibilities. But deep inside your mind, there is pressure that nobody fully understands. There are silent wars happening within your thoughts every single day. There are nights when your body is tired, but your mind refuses to rest. There are mornings when you wake up already exhausted because your thoughts have been fighting all night long. The greatest attacks often begin in the minutes. Before fear controls your actions, it first enters your thoughts. Before discouragement weakens your spirit, it first whispers inside your mind. The enemy understands something many people forget. If your thoughts become poisoned, your peace begins to disappear. That is why so many people are smiling publicly while struggling privately. Their minds have become battlefields. One negative thought can grow if you keep feeding it. One fear can multiply until it controls your emotions. One painful memory can replay itself so many times that it steals your joy in the present. The mind is powerful, and whatever controls your thoughts will eventually influence your life. That is why you must be careful about what you allow to live in your mind. Some people constantly replay failure. Others replay rejection. Others replay betrayal, disappointment, regret, or fear about the future. And slowly, those thoughts begin to shape the way they see themselves. They stop believing they are strong. I stop believing things can improve. They stop believing God still has a plan for them. But you cannot win spiritual battles with defeated thinking. There are moments when your mind becomes filled with confusion. You overthink every situation. You worry about things that have not even happened yet. You imagine worst-case scenarios until fear drains your strength. The mind begins to race in every direction, and suddenly peace feels far away. Even while praying, your thoughts are distracted. Even while resting, your mind remains tense. Many people are carrying mental burdens they were never meant to carry alone. They are trying to solve everything themselves. They are trying to control every outcome. They are trying to predict every problem before it arrives. But constant worry was never designed to give you peace. Worry only drains your spirit while changing nothing. Fear is dangerous because it speaks loudly. Fear tells you things will never improve. Fear tells you you are trapped forever. Fear tells you the storm will destroy you. Fear makes temporary struggles feel permanent. And if you listen long enough, fear will convince you to surrender your hope. But God never intended fear to rule your mind. You must learn how to fight back spiritually. Not every thought deserves agreement. Some thoughts must be rejected immediately. Some voices must be silenced before they grow stronger. You cannot allow negativity to stay in your mind unchecked every single day. A battlefield requires resistance. There are people who have allowed anxiety to become normal. They have lived under pressure for so long that chaos feels familiar. But God did not create you to live constantly overwhelmed. He created your mind for peace, clarity, wisdom, and stability. The enemy attacks your mind because your mind influences your faith. If he can fill your thoughts with doubt, he can weaken your confidence. If he can fill your thoughts with fear, he can interrupt your peace. If he can let your thoughts with hopelessness, he can make you forget the promises God placed over your life. That is why you must protect your mind daily. Be careful what you listen to constantly. Be careful what voices shape your emotions. Be careful what environments drain your peace. Some people are emotionally exhausted because they are feeding their minds negativity every day while starving their spirit of truth. There comes a moment when you must stand up internally and say, I will not let fear control me anymore. I will not let anxiety define my future. I will not allow negative thoughts to become stronger than my faith. Even strong people fight mental battles. Even faithful people sometimes struggle with discouragement. But struggling does not mean you are weak. It means you are human. The key is refusing to stay trapped in those thoughts forever. God is able to calm a troubled mind. He can bring peace where confusion once lived. He can replace fear with confidence and heaviness with the rest. He can give strength to a weary soul that feels mentally exhausted from carrying too much for too long. Your battle may be happening in your mind today, but your mind does not belong to fear. Your mind belongs to God. And when you begin surrendering your thoughts to Him instead of your fears, peace slowly begins to return again. Life has a way of creating storms you never expected. Sometimes chaos enters suddenly and without warning. One moment everything feels stable, and the next moment your world feels shaken. A difficult phone call changes your peace. A betrayal wounds your heart. A financial struggle steals your sleep. A family problem drains your strength. A season of uncertainty leaves your mind overwhelmed. And in moments like these, many people begin searching for peace in all the wrong places. Some people think peace only comes when problems disappear. They believe they can finally rest once every storm ends, every answer arrives, and every situation becomes perfect. But if peace depends on perfect circumstances, then peace will always remain temporary. Real peace is deeper than comfort. Real peace is stronger than emotions. Real peace comes from knowing that even in the middle of chaos, God is still in control. Anyone can feel calm when life is easy, but true spiritual peace reveals itself when life becomes difficult. Peace is not pretending the storm does not exist. Peace is standing in the middle of the storm while trusting that God is greater than what surrounds you. There are people listening right now whose lives feel noisy. Their minds are crowded with pressure, responsibility, fear, and uncertainty. Every day feels heavy. Every decision feels stressful. They are carrying emotional burdens while trying to remain strong for everybody else. Outwardly, they continue functioning, but inwardly, they are exhausted. That is why the peace of God is so powerful. It reaches places human comfort cannot reach. People may encourage you, but only God can calm the deepest fears hidden inside your heart. Only God can silence the panic that keeps you awake at night. Only God can steady your spirit when everything around you feels unstable. Chaos has a voice. Chaos tells you to panic. Chaos tells you to expect the worst. Chaos tells you that you are alone, forgotten, and powerless. The storm tries to convince you that fear is the only reasonable response. But God's peace speaks differently. Peace reminds you that the battle is not bigger than God. Peace reminds you that your future is still in His hands. Peace reminds you that temporary pain cannot cancel eternal promises. Sometimes God will calm the storm around you. Other times He will calm you while the storm continues. And there is a difference between the two. Many people only want external peace, but God often begins by creating internal peace first. Because when your spirit becomes anchored in Him, external situations lose the power to destroy you emotionally. You may still have unanswered prayers, but peace says, God is working. You may still face uncertainty, but peace says, God is leading me. You may still feel pressure, but peace says, I will not fall apart because God is holding me together. The world teaches people to depend on control for peace. If they can control outcomes, control people, and control situations, then they feel safe. But life constantly reminds us that we cannot control everything. Unexpected problems happen. Delays happen. Loss happens. Disappointment happens. And when people lose control, fear quickly enters. But faith changes your perspective. Faith says that even when you cannot control life, God still can. Faith allows peace to survive in difficult seasons because your confidence is no longer built on circumstances alone. Your confidence is built on God's power, wisdom, and faithfulness. Some storms are sent to break distractions and draw you closer to God. Hard seasons reveal where your trust truly lives. It is easy to speak about faith during peaceful moments, but storms reveal whether your heart genuinely believes God is still present during chaos. You do not have to collapse every time life becomes difficult. You do not have to allow fear to dominate your thoughts. You do not have to spend every day consumed with worry about tomorrow. God offers a peace that goes beyond human understanding, a peace that remains steady when logic says panic, a peace that survives when circumstances look impossible. There are moments when you must stop focusing on the size of the storm and start focusing on the greatness of God. The storm may be loud, but God is greater. The pressure may feel intense, but God is still faithful. The situation may seem uncertain, but God already stands at the end of your story. Peace grows when trust grows. The more you trust God, the less fear controls your mind. The more you surrender your worries to Him, the lighter your spirit becomes. Peace enters when you stop carrying burdens that only God was meant to carry. Even now, in the middle of your struggle, peace is still possible. Not because life is perfect, but because God remains present in every imperfect moment. And when His presence fills your heart, chaos loses the authority to control your soul. One of the greatest reasons people become emotionally exhausted is because they are carrying burdens they were never meant to carry alone. Every day they wake up trying to solve every problem, fix every situation, protect every relationship, and control every outcome. They carry pressure silently because they feel responsible for everything happening around them. Over time, the weight becomes heavier than they expected, and eventually their mind, emotions, and spirit begin to feel drained. There are people who look strong on the outside but are collapsing internally because they have been carrying too much for too long. They carry family pressure, financial stress, emotional wounds, fear about the future, disappointment from the past, and responsibilities that never seem to end. They rarely talk about it because they think asking for help is weakness. So they keep suffering quietly while pretending everything is under control. But God never designed human beings to carry life without Him. Many people trust God with their words, but not with their burdens. They pray, but then continue carrying anxiety as if everything still depends entirely on them. They ask God for peace while holding tightly to fear. They ask for strength while refusing to surrender control. And because they refuse to release the burden, they continue living under emotional weight that God already offered to carry. There comes a moment when you must realize that constant worry is not helping you. Stressing day and night cannot change tomorrow. Fear cannot solve your problems. Anxiety cannot create peace. In fact, the more you carry burdens alone, the weaker your spirit becomes. Your mind becomes tired. Your emotions become unstable. Your joy slowly disappears. Some people have become so used to pressure that they no longer remember what true rest feels like. Even during quiet moments, their minds continue racing. They constantly think about what could go wrong, what they might lose, or how difficult life may become. They carry invisible pressure every day, and it affects their sleep, emotions, relationships, and faith. But God never asked you to become your own savior. You are not responsible for controlling every detail of your future. You are not responsible for fixing every broken situation instantly. Some burdens are simply too heavy for human strength alone. That is why trust in God is necessary. Trust allows you to release what you cannot control and place it into the hands of the one who sees the entire picture. Sometimes people carry burdens because they are afraid of letting go. They believe if they stop worrying, everything will fall apart. But holding on to fear does not protect you. It only exhausts you. God is calling many people to surrender not because He wants them to give up, but because He wants them to stop destroying themselves emotionally trying to carry what only He can handle. There is a difference between responsibility and unhealthy burden. Responsibility means doing your part faithfully. Unhealthy burden begins when you try to carry emotional weights that belong to God. You were never created to carry the pressure of knowing the future. You were never created to carry the pressure of changing people's hearts. You were never created to carry every fear, every pain, and every uncertainty by yourself. God invites tired people to come to Him honestly, not pretending, not performing, not acting strong. He welcomes people who are mentally exhausted, emotionally overwhelmed, and spiritually weary. He understands silent struggles that nobody else sees. He understands the hidden tears, the private fears, and the heavy thoughts people carry every single day. Why? Sometimes the strongest prayer is simply saying, God, I cannot carry this alone anymore. That kind of surrender is not weakness. It is wisdom. Because surrender allows God's strength to enter the places where human strength has failed. Many people are emotionally breaking because they are trying to hold together situations that only God can heal. The burden becomes lighter when you stop trying to control everything. Peace begins to return when you stop fighting battles in your own strength alone. Rest enters your spirit when you finally trust that God is still working even when you cannot see immediate results. You do not have to know every answer to have peace. You do not have to understand every delay to trust God. Faith means believing that God is already moving even when life feels uncertain. Some of the pressure people feel comes from trying to carry tomorrow before tomorrow even arrives. They are already worried about future problems that have not happened yet. But God gives strength one day at a time. He gives grace for today's battle, today's pressure, and today's needs. When you constantly carry tomorrow's fears, you eventually become crushed under unnecessary weight. God is not asking you to carry the entire future on your shoulders. He is asking you to trust Him step by step, to pray instead of panic, to surrender instead of overthinking, to rest instead of constantly living in fear. And when you finally release those burdens into His hands, something powerful begins to happen inside your spirit. Your breathing becomes lighter. Your thoughts become calmer. Your heart becomes steadier. Because the moment you stop carrying everything alone is often the moment peace begins to enter your life again. Many people ask God to change their situation while ignoring the condition of their mind. They pray for open doors, financial breakthroughs, healed relationships, and new opportunities. But inside they are still carrying confusion, fear, bitterness, anxiety, and emotional exhaustion. They want restoration around them while their inner world remains broken. But God often begins restoration within before He changes what is happening outside. The condition of your mind affects every area of your life. When your mind is filled with fear, it becomes difficult to walk in confidence. When your mind is overwhelmed with negativity, it becomes difficult to recognize hope. When your thoughts are constantly troubled, your spirit becomes tired, your emotions become unstable, and your faith begins to weaken. That is why restoration must begin internally. Some people are physically present but mentally drained. Their body continues moving, but emotionally they feel disconnected, exhausted, and empty. They smile while silently struggling. They continue helping others while secretly feeling broken inside. Years of disappointment, pressure, rejection, and stress have slowly damaged their inner peace. But God is able to restore what life has damaged. He restores minds that have been overwhelmed by fear. He restores hearts wounded by pain. He restores people who feel emotionally shattered after difficult seasons. Nothing is too broken for God's healing power. Sometimes people underestimate how deeply life can affect the mind. A painful betrayal can change the way someone trusts. Constant pressure can steal emotional strength. Repeated disappointment can weaken hope. Long seasons of struggle can fill a person with silent exhaustion. Over time, many people stop expecting peace because chaos has become their normal condition. But God never intended for His people to live trapped in constant emotional turmoil. Restoration begins when you stop believing that your brokenness is permanent. Just because you feel mentally exhausted today does not mean you will feel this way forever. Just because you lost peace in one season does not mean peace can never return. God specializes in rebuilding what has been damaged. There are moments when God must remove unhealthy thinking before He can release greater purpose into your life. Negative thinking blocks clarity. Fear blocks courage. Constant worry blocks peace. Some people pray for new opportunities while holding on to destructive thoughts that continue draining their strength. That is why renewal of the mind is so important. Your thoughts shape your perspective, your decisions, your emotions, and your spiritual strength. If your thinking remains trapped in hopelessness, it becomes difficult to move forward confidently into the future God prepared for you. Many people need healing in places nobody else can see. They need healing from painful memories, healing from rejection, healing from shame, healing from words spoken over them years ago. Some people still carry emotional wounds from situations that happened long ago, and those hidden wounds continue affecting how they think every day. But God sees every hidden wound inside the human heart. He sees the battle's plea hide behind their smiles. He sees the silent tears nobody else notices. He understands emotional pain that cannot always be explained with words. And He does not turn away from broken people. He moves toward them with healing, grace, and restoration. Sometimes restoration happens gradually. God begins rebuilding your thoughts little by little. He teaches you how to think differently. He teaches you how to trust again. He teaches you how to stop feeding fear and start feeding faith. Slowly, your perspective changes. Your hope returns. Your strength increases. The heaviness begins lifting from your spirit. The enemy wants people to believe they will never recover emotionally. He wants them to believe they will always be anxious, always fearful, always damaged, and always broken. But God's power is greater than emotional pain. God can restore joy after years of heaviness. He can restore peace after long battles with fear. He can restore clarity after seasons of confusion. There are blessings connected to mental restoration. When your mind becomes healthier, your relationships improve. Your faith grows stronger. Your decisions become wiser. Your emotions become steadier. Peace allows you to hear God more clearly because fear no longer controls every thought. Some people are waiting for God to restore external success while God is focused on restoring internal stability first. Because without inner peace, even blessings can become overwhelming. God wants your spirit healthy, your mind renewed, and your heart steady. Restoration requires surrender. You cannot hold tightly to fear while asking God for peace. You cannot continue feeding negative thoughts while expecting emotional freedom. God restores minds that are willing to trust Him daily, even during difficult seasons. Every day you must choose what you will feed your spirit: fear or faith, panic or prayer, negativity or truth, despair or hope. What grows inside your mind will eventually shape your life. God is still restoring people today. He is restoring exhausted minds, weary hearts, broken confidence, and lost hope. Even people who feel emotionally drained beyond repair are not beyond His healing power. And when God restores your mind, you begin to see life differently again. The same situations that once filled you with panic no longer control you. The same fears that once dominated your thoughts begin losing their power. Because restoration changes not only your circumstances, it changes the condition of your spirit from the inside out. There are seasons in life when everything feels permanent, even though it is not. When you are inside a difficult chapter, it often feels like the weight will never lift, like the struggle has become your new identity, and like the pressure will always remain. But what feels permanent in pain is often temporary in purpose. God never allows a season of struggle to define the entire story of a life He is still writing. One of the most dangerous thoughts that enters the human mind during hardship is the belief that things will never change. That thinking slowly drains hope. It weakens faith. It convinces people to stop praying with expectation and start living with resignation. But hopeless thinking is not truth, it is a reaction to pain. And pain always tries to exaggerate the permanence of what is actually temporary. Every storm has an expiration date, even when you cannot see it. Every night eventually gives way to morning. Every season, no matter how long or heavy, eventually transitions into something new. Life is constantly moving, even when it feels still. What feels stuck today is already moving toward change in God's timing. There are people who have been waiting for answers for a long time. They have prayed, cried, believed, and still find themselves in the same place emotionally. And because of that delay, discouragement tries to convince them that nothing will ever improve. But delay is not denial. Silence is not absence. Waiting is not abandonment. Sometimes God is working in places you cannot see, while preparing outcomes you cannot yet understand. What many people call the end is often just the middle of the process. God sees the full picture while you are only experiencing a small part of it. That is why trusting Him during uncertainty is so important. If you judge your entire future based on your current struggle, you will misunderstand what God is doing in your life. This season you are in is not designed to destroy you. It is designed to develop you. Pressure reveals strength you did not know you had. Waiting builds patience you would not develop otherwise. Challenges stretch your faith beyond comfort. And though these processes feel uncomfortable, they are shaping something deeper within you. There are lessons learned in hardship that cannot be learned in comfort. There is a type of spiritual growth that only comes when you are forced to depend on God more deeply than before. When everything, is going well, it is easy to trust. But when nothing makes sense, trust becomes a choice rather than a feeling. Some people assume that because their situation has not changed yet, God is not working. But God's work is not always visible in the moment. Just because you cannot see movement does not mean transformation is not happening beneath the surface. Seeds grow underground before anything appears above the ground. In the same way, God often works in hidden ways before visible change arrives. Your current pain is not a prophecy of your future. It is a temporary chapter, not the conclusion of your life. What you are going through is real, but it is not final. You are passing through something, not remaining inside it forever. That distinction is important because it changes how you interpret your struggle. When you believe something is permanent, fear grows stronger. But when you believe change is possible, hope begins to rise again. Hope is not denial of reality, it is trust that. And reality is not the end of the story. Hope gives you strength to keep moving when circumstances are slow to change. God often uses time as part of healing. He uses waiting seasons to strengthen your character, reshape your thinking, and prepare you for what is ahead. If everything changed instantly, many people would not be ready for the blessings they are asking for. So God works not only on situations, but also on the person receiving the outcome. Even now, in what feels like a long and difficult season, God is still guiding your steps. You are not forgotten in the waiting. You are not overlooked in the silence. You are not abandoned in the struggle. Every moment is still held within His plan, even when you do not understand the timing. And one day you will look back and realize that what felt like the longest season was actually the turning point. What felt like delay was preparation. What felt like silence was alignment. What felt like breaking was actually shaping you into nothing stronger, wiser, and more grounded in faith. This season will not define your entire life. It will pass. It will shift. It will end. And when it does, you will realize that God was not absent in it. He was carrying you through it the entire time. There are moments in the journey of faith when it feels like nothing is happening at all. You pray, but the situation looks unchanged. You wait, but the door remains closed. You believe, but the answer seems delayed. And in those quiet spaces, doubt begins to whisper that maybe God is no longer working, or maybe He has forgotten the promise. But silence is not absence, and delay is not denial. What feels like nothing is happening is often the place where the deepest work of God is taking place. God is not limited to what you can see. Human eyes measure progress by visible results, but God works in dimensions that are often hidden from natural understanding. While you are focused on the situation in front of you, He is shaping outcomes behind the scenes. While you are worried about what has not changed, He is aligning things you cannot yet perceive. There are movements in the spiritual realm that do not immediately translate into physical evidence. Just because the result has not appeared does not mean the process has stopped. Many times, God works in the unseen before He reveals anything in the seen. He strengthens your character while you are still waiting for the promise. He builds your patience while the answer seems delayed. He develops your trust while everything feels uncertain. Because what God is preparing for you is not just an outcome, it is also a version of you that can handle the outcome without being destroyed by it. If everything changed instantly without inner preparation, the blessing could become overwhelming instead of fulfilling. Waiting seasons are not wasted seasons. They are shaping seasons. They are the moments where your faith is tested not by how loudly you pray, but by how deeply you trust. Until nothing seems to respond. Anyone can praise when doors are open, but real faith is revealed when silence lasts longer than expected answers. In those moments, your heart learns to depend on God not for what He gives, but for who He is. There is a refining process that happens in delay. Impatience gets exposed. Fear gets revealed. Doubt rises to the surface so it can be addressed. And slowly, through continued trust, your spiritual foundation becomes stronger than it was before. You begin to realize that God's presence has been consistent even when circumstances have not changed. He has been steady even when life has felt unstable. Sometimes what feels like stagnation is actually protection.